Well, the Eagles were at Lincoln Financial Field for another padded practice today. Nakobe Dean returned, but was not a full participant. An interesting fight broke out between Landon, Dickerson and Barnett, and Jalen Hurts, well, he played well yet again. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Wednesday. The lights are back on, thank goodness. We have a lot to get into following the Eagles' most recent padded practice at Lincoln Financial Field. Your first update is Nakobe Dean. Look at him. He's out there. He had pads on. He had a helmet on, but was still limited today. Hey, better than not participating, as it has been for almost a week up there at the NovaCare Complex. He was out there today. No team stuff, aka no 11 on 11s, but he did do a couple of drills, worked on the ankle a little bit on the side of practice, and seemingly continues to get better and better on this day-to-day ankle injury, which is taking a little bit longer than you would expect, but still, it is a good sign and good news out there that Nakobe Dean is finally at least putting pads back on. My expectation is he will not play in Saturday's game against the Baltimore Ravens, but I think maybe the second preseason game could be his target to get back out on the football field and showcase why most people are very excited about him being the number one linebacker on this team. The green helmet, or the green dot in the back of his helmet, and being hopefully a young leader on what can be a very, very strong linebacking core for the Philadelphia Eagles. And over here to an interesting note from Eagles practice, Devonta Smith was excused today for a personal reason. Now, whenever that's a personal reason, you have no idea what it is. Philadelphia's not going to tell you because it's, wait for it, personal, and so we have no clue what's going on with Devonta Smith. Perhaps, his wife maybe going to get a checkup for the baby. They obviously are having a kid soon. I'm not exactly sure the due date. Maybe it was related to that. Obviously, nothing crazy. No need to scare anybody, but Devonta Smith was excused from practice today. He was not out there. Quez Watkins filled in his spot whenever they were doing 11 on 11 against the defense. Now, speaking of those 11 on 11s, Nolan Smith and Jack Driscoll backed into Marcus Mariota during an 11 on 11 rep, and you continue to get updates every single day of Nolan Smith playing very, very well against backup offensive linemen. I mean, here's Jack Driscoll, who's one of the better backup tackles in the Philadelphia Eagles, getting bull rushed essentially by Nolan Smith and driven all the way back into the quarterback, which was, of course, the second teamer in Marcus Mariota. But still, you guys love the daily Nolan Smith updates. There it is. We still have not had a Nolan Smith, obliterates Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata, or Nolan Smith gets a sack on Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata. Seemingly, Lane Johnson has been winning most of those battles, waiting for that day when it happens. But aren't you all super excited to see both Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter out there on Saturday against live fire? I mean, real hitting and real quarterback sacking abilities. I'm very excited for that. Thumbs up for Nolan Smith performing well yet again today. And speaking of that second team offensive line that Nolan Smith did a good job with at the Lincoln Financial Field practice a little bit earlier, here is what it was. This is who was actually lining up at the second team offensive line. Your left tackle was Jack Driscoll. Your left guard was Sua Opeta. Your center was Josh Andrews. Your right guard was Sills. And then your right tackle was Tyler Steen, which is interesting from the fact of Tyler Steen not seemingly being anywhere near competing for the right guard spot anymore. This seems like they have moved Steen to being a backup offensive tackle who's going to be basically redshirted this year or brought in an emergency situation. Now, it's still early technically, but at this point in training camp, we're over halfway done. If they were going to really try to move Tyler Steen into the starting right guard spot, they would have done it by now. They would have at least tried him out at the starting right guard spot more consistently than just the first couple of days. Juergens, as predicted, basically has won that job, and Steen is now going to be kind of preparing for the worst possible scenario of losing Lane Johnson for a couple of games or losing Jordan Mailata over there at the left tackle spot. Now, over here to an interesting five-man front that Philadelphia did run today. The first time we've seen this at training camp, although I'm sure they've done it without people watching. Here is your five-man front that they'd used a little bit last year, but Reddick, Carter, Marlin, Davis, and Sweat. And so you see the opportunity for Philadelphia to really line up a fascinating combination of five pass rushers, really, and try to slow down offenses, right? You got Reddick and Sweat on the outside, so you have two of your best pass rushers coming on the edge. You have Jalen Carter, then you have Marlin, who could probably be swapped in for Fletcher Cox if they wanted to, and then Jordan Davis, right? I mean, you talk about three elite defensive tackles potentially on the football field at one time. If it's Carter, maybe you throw Milton Williams, then Jordan Davis. Not just two of them together, it's three of them together. I love that new idea, and I think that Philadelphia has the defensive line and really the depth to go ahead and perform that, unlike a lot of other football teams out there in the NFL. So keep an eye on this five-man front, which again, they mixed in a little bit last year. Maybe Desai will use it a little bit more this year, especially in either early passing situations or third down and long passing situations where they can get as many pass rushers, as many defensive linemen trying to sucker in on the quarterback and get about three guys in the face, and then Reddick and Sweat come on the outside. It could be a very, very deadly combination. Now, over here to the cheap shot of the day, your first camp, I would say fight. I wouldn't call it a super big fight, but a fight nonetheless in Philadelphia. You see Tim McManus says that a cheap shot from Barnett on Landon Dickerson after a wide receiver screen to Brown. Dickerson knocked Barnett down on a bit of a blindsided block during the play. Barnett retaliated, shoving Dickerson to the ground from behind. Now, both teams or both sides, the offense and defense, kind of came in quickly and ended the fight, so there wasn't any sort of punches being thrown or anything serious. But it's an interesting part where Barnett gets knocked down from a blindside block. He probably was unhappy about that. And then the pushing Landon Dickerson in the back onto the ground, that's the part where you kind of go, it's always him, right? Now, Derek Barnett has had a very good training camp. Now, they're not going to say that in the national media because a lot of people don't like Derek Barnett. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory or anything crazy, but you get my point. You go on Twitter, you're hearing about Nolan Smith, you're hearing about Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick. Barnett is not getting a lot of love despite the fact that he has had a pretty good training camp. Now, does this help him out? No, because every single Eagle fan understands that Derek Barnett is a walking either offsides or 15-yard penalty guy. At least he was the past couple of seasons prior to his injury. This is not a good look and that will not help out his case in front of Eagle fans. Is it an actual big deal? No, not at all. I mean, these fights happen all the time. Travis Kelce threw a punch. I mean, literally threw a punch at a teammate at Chiefs camp just a couple of weeks ago, right? So this stuff sort of happens. But if you were wondering if there was any sort of fighting happening at Eagles practice, there is. And are you surprised it's Derek Barnett? If you aren't, let me know why down below right now in the comments section. All right, we go ahead and wrap up with Jalen Hurts' day. This is day 9, technically, of training camp. 7 of 13, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, says Elliott Shore Parks. I feel a bit, I feel below a few, he didn't type it well, a few below average practices in a row for Hurts. Eagles' first team offense hasn't been great. Lots of running plays today. Hurst missed 2 throws I'd expect him to make. One easily is stolen the flat. His best throw of the day was a deep pass to A.J. Brown. A good reminder after a rough day that the duo is talented enough to quickly make up for mistakes. Overall, though, not a great showing on a day where lots of situational full field drills, end quote. And now, again, this is a day-by-day sort of thing. A couple of days ago, Jalen Hurts had an incredible practice. A couple of days ago, he threw an interception, and now it was kind of a mediocre practice, but it was bailed out by the deep pass to A.J. Brown, which was over Kelee Ringo, who was in very, very good coverage, according to reports that I was reading, and so this was very clearly a perfect throw by Jalen Hurts and a great catch by Brown, but Ringo continues to try to climb up that secondary depth chart and is getting a ton, I mean, an absolute ton of valuable reps right now with the Eagles' second team, and sometimes, whenever Bradbury's not been in their first team outside cornerback spot, that gives him a chance to fill in if there were to be an injury to either Bradbury or Darius Slay. So, again, you got to take training camp with every single, I would say, grain of salt, because you can talk about a great play by A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, but it minimizes the fact that there was a pretty darn good play made by Kelee Ringo being in fantastic coverage. He was just a rookie and got beat by a veteran, or 2 veterans now, I should say, and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. So, overall, a pretty good practice. Wasn't the best practice Philadelphia has had over the past 9 that we've covered over here on the Thomas Mott Show, but no major mistakes, one little tiny fight, but nothing crazy to go ahead and freak out about. We obviously have plenty more coverage of everything happening with the Philadelphia Eagles day by day for every single training camp practice here on the Thomas Mott Show. Join the over 16,200 of you guys who have subscribed by hitting that red button and going to the notification bell as well. All right, Wednesday Link Live happening tonight. Myself, Josh Davis, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the best Eagles show you possibly could have. Watch live every single week, every single Wednesday. We're doing more of our ticket giveaway entries if you've not gotten a part of that, and possibly get in on a fantasy football league as well. And of course, we'll take all of your questions and talk about everything happening around the Philadelphia Eagles as they prepare for their very first preseason game Saturday night on the road against Lamar Jackson, probably not, but Lamar Jackson's Ravens up there in Baltimore. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.